In February 2024, the Australian and New Zealand Journal of Public Health issued an earth-shattering course correct of sorts for what was essentially a sweeping recommendation to stay out of the sunlight at all costs. Of course, I'm being hyperbolic, but that's essentially what it was. The new position called for different behaviors depending on one's skin type and their ability to tolerate sunlight, addressing various health concerns that arose following the sweeping recommendation to stay out of sunlight at all costs previously, including vitamin D deficiency and other issues. And naturally, that statement did address the concern for skin cancer as an index of sorts to dictate one's behavior relating to sunlight. Now, that is a massive change from the previous mass hysteria that dominated recommendations related to sun exposure and continues to prevail despite the paper, which continues to maintain, by the way, that mass communications campaigns should still focus on skin cancer prevention. The new position they maintain, however, will support delivery of personalized advice. Now, I know, for many of you, the default setting is sun protection. You slather on the SPF the moment you wake up. It's pretty much an integral part of your skincare routine. And I get it, you don't want to get sunburned. But what if there is a gray zone, a gray area in relating to sun exposure that is completely left untouched, a big one, and you're completely ignoring it by automatically putting on sunscreen? Yuval Bibi Dermatologist's mission: snap you out of the skincare matrix so your skin can finally work for you as it was meant to do rather than you working for the skincare industry. Okay, so sunlight may contribute to certain types of skin cancer, but there's far more to it than that. Notice, for example, that most people do not get skin cancers worldwide, and this is Europeans as well. With the massive campaign to fight skin cancer, mostly through sun avoidance and sun protection, the rates of skin cancer have actually been rising over the last few decades. And I promise you that this is not because of failure to protect. In fact, people are overprotecting. They're spending more time indoors and they're using sunscreen massively. So this doesn't add up. Also, people getting skin cancer are not covered in skin cancer. They're getting skin cancer over discrete areas of the skin for the most part. Very rarely are people actually covered in skin cancer, which means that the skin has an ability or mechanisms to fight skin cancer and keep it away. Otherwise, why wouldn't it develop everywhere? It's almost as if sunlight may actually prevent skin cancer in some ways, and it certainly betters the odds when it comes to other types of cancer like colon cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, as well as other conditions like multiple sclerosis, diabetes, and high blood pressure. This is achieved through multiple mechanisms, including vitamin D production, as well as release of nitric oxide and immune regulation, among other pathways. Sunlight also can improve mood and pain tolerance, which obviously contributes to improvement in mental health, but intuitively sounds like it can help with addiction and substance abuse as well. So yes, it's clear that sunlight has tons of benefits and that the risk of skin cancer is relatively small. But still, I don't want to pretend like there's no connection between sun exposure and skin cancer, and there very well may be a connection in certain individuals in certain cases, but let's just say that there's a whole lot more nuance to it than that. The bottom line is that sunlight does have a ton of benefits. It does have some risks, so we have to find a middle ground in which we can walk with confidence and still get the benefits while mitigating risk. So definitely get some sunlight. Well, how much? Well, that depends on your skin and its ability to tolerate sunlight. You don't want to get sunburned, as that is injury to the skin, which will definitely lead to sun damage on the skin long term and may potentially lead to other issues like skin cancer. So how do you get sunlight and how much? Enter sensible sun exposure, a term coined by Michael Hollick, MD, who's a vitamin D expert and pioneer. Now, Dr. Hollick found out that by getting about 25% of what's called minimal erythemal dose, or a mild sunburn, getting 25% of that on the arms and on the legs about 2 or 3 times a week without sun protection does meet one's vitamin D requirements. Minimal erythemal dose is the sunlight dose that makes you slightly pink the next day, as in mildly sunburnt. But obviously, there's more to sunlight than just vitamin D, as I earlier mentioned. So I'd say it's perfectly fine for you to get about 30 to 50% of minimal erythemal dose a few times a week out in the sun without sun protection, exposing areas like the arms, the legs, the chest, and other body parts. You may want to consider protecting the face if your face is exceptionally sensitive so you don't sun damage the face. but the rest of the skin can definitely tolerate that level of sun exposure without obviously sunburn and without deeply tanning the skin or damaging it either. This way you get all the benefits, you incur none of the damage, and everybody's happy. Don't get sunburned, but at the same time get a good amount of sun exposure so you get all the benefits while mitigating the risk of sunburn. Once you reach that threshold, sure, you can cover up, maybe get out of the sun altogether, cover up with some sun protective clothing, which are solid fabric clothing, or if you don't have either, you may consider using sunblock on the exposed skin areas. But definitely don't make sun protection your automatic mindless default. Let me know in the comments how this video shifted your approach to sunlight. Also, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe for more no BS skincare advice. See you next time. God bless.